All right, good afternoon, everybody. What is up? Welcome. It's time for another edition here of the FanDuel Cash Game Roundtable. I am Dan Bach, taking the hosting duties away from Mr. Chalk, the Daily Fantasy Almanac. You know him better as Dean Shavelson. So, Dean, how does it feel to kind of go back to the old school days when you were analyst? Because people don't even remember this. Like when you first started on RG, you weren't the plucky host. You were like the hardcore analyst.
I like that plucky is my description. First of all, I feel like this is really a throwback, and it's an old school show with yourself and the chopper of heads. Like if somebody's getting hazed in this show, it's me, right? I'm the youngest one, or as far as not youngest, as far as a tenure, I believe.
You're definitely the youngest tenure-wise, and I think you're sneaky old, by the way. So you might actually be the oldest of the three, which is kind of interesting, nonetheless. But we're all pretty close. We're all pretty close. And, of course, we've got the one, the only, the man of the old guard of DFS, Head Chopper. And, Chop, tell the world why it's a glorious day today for you.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. Well, it's been a hectic month and a lot of things going on, but at the very least, today, sent the kids back to school, survived. I got a T-shirt. I survived summer of 2016. It's rough every year. It's rough. It gets rougher and rougher, but it's over with starting today. They go back to school, so now I just got to deal with them on the weekends.
It's funny because when you're a kid, you love summer break. When you're an adult and you have kids, you hate summer break, and you look forward to, of course, school starting back up. And only one half of mine are back in school. So I still got a few more weeks before the littlest one heads back, and then it will be freedom once again here in the Bach household. But we're here to help you build some cash game lineups today. You got a pretty good crew for that. Certainly one of the best in the business. And I got to give you props here, Dean. You're owning this, consensus value rankings. I guess we dropped the word expert at some point in time. So it's just the consensus value rankings, and you're owning that, my man.
Yeah, dude. I think I'm number one in both right now, and I want to close strong. I said before I wanted to do a little secretariat, a little wire to wire, but it was pointed out to me that at one point I was number 2 on DK, and then Cards is right there. And JM to win, he told me that he's awfully close in FanDuel. He's right on my tail at second. I do want to, our show. First of all, I'm very proud of myself. The last 2 shows I was on for this, I had the wrong thing. I was like, oh, let's study DK, and it was for FanDuel. And then I was like, oh, let's study FanDuel, and it was for DK. I know that today it's FanDuel. I triple-checked the schedule. But I think our show just got blown up because I'm not sure if you guys saw the news. Strasburg to the DL. He's not pitching tonight. Enter A.J. Cole.
I'm glad somebody's keeping their eye on Twitter and chat and everything else because I didn't see that. But, that kind of makes me a little bit sad because when I woke up this morning, you kind of always go through and project the maybe what the game totals are, who might be favored at what level. And that game came in at a 9 today with Strasburg at I think it was plus 111. I don't even know if he was a favorite in that matchup. And that one screamed like something isn't right there. I don't know if that what wasn't right, but I was pretty much on team either, obviously fading Strasburg, but potentially even stacking against him. But I think that's probably going to be a bigger deal on DraftKings, Chop, because they probably bring in the pitcher salaries into consideration. FanDuel for us, I don't know if any of those Baltimore bats are all that cheap to begin with.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting turn of events, but like you said, I wasn't going to play Strasburg, and I would have only played Baltimore in tournaments anyway. So for him to get scratched, maybe it opens up the Baltimore bats, but there's not that much of a change for me. I don't get to do a whole lot of FanDuel these days, but on FanDuel especially where there's only one pitcher and limits, there's plenty of options out there. So I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't change very much for me today.
All right, well, let's get into the build, and we're going to go to the old screen share, so enjoy this final look at my ugly mug and get my basically FanDuel page here instead, and, feel free to ignore the balance in the upper right-hand corner. I don't even know if it shows, but let's get into it here, and we'll start where we always start on FanDuel, and that is starting pitcher, and obviously on a site like FanDuel where you've got the win points being so important, trying to find that guy who's going to get you the win, we got to do it. So, Dean, we had a little bit of discussion earlier before the show, and it seemed like you're hedging towards David Price. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Price and Lester is kind of a coin toss. You can make that argument, make that conversation. I listen to both sides. But we keep talking about the last few weeks or so. The punts are kind of sort of basically gone on FanDuel. You can't find the good old 2K crappers. Even the 2-5 crappers, they're hard. I mean, you're probably going to work one or two in today just to make things work. But they're just not as prevalent as they once were. That's why the difference between Lester at 11K and Price at 10K, that 1K is massive. It can go really far. I love the matchup there, old guard versus new guard. We got Price, against his old team, a little bit of revenge, facing Snell, the young hotshot. That's going to be an awesome game, just a fun game to watch. Tampa, we know, historically hits lefties pretty well, but basically we're talking about Forsythe and Longoria, and they just strike out a ton, and I see the upside. We're talking about double-digit Ks. The ballpark upgrade as well, going from Boston back to Tampa. Of course, he knows that mound really well as well. Lester, I'm good with, but I need the $1,000. And we know San Diego historically, at least this year, they've been pretty good against left-handers. And yes, they've lost Upton and Kemp, which has kind of knocked them down a peg or two. But again, I just don't think I can pay that salary. The other decision, if I'm going to step down, which I probably wouldn't, but I think it's just worth kind of mapping out and seeing what you can do with it, is Jameson Taillon at home versus Houston. Houston, negative ballpark shift, loses their DH as well, and some K upside for Taillon, who's basically, you can just kind of lock him in for 6 innings. He's probably not going to go further beyond that, but I think he feels pretty safe. That's kind of where I'm at today as far as the pitchers.
Yeah, Taillon is interesting. That Astros run line 3.65 on our lineups page. You can see kind of their projected run line today. A bit lower than I think I expected there, and I think it lends him to being maybe like the guy I'd want most in tournaments today to kind of get some big bats in there, because there's certainly some hitting environments that we're going to want a piece of. Cash games, I'm with you. I think there's too much risk in the youngster, because 5-6 innings are probably all he's going to go. And the issue that you run into is not only is he might not be in the spot to get the win, but even if he is the bullpen going to hold up for him? So I love the price, but I think that makes a more tournament play. Chop, I think it boils down to Price versus Lester. 11K for Lester, 10K for Price. Where are you on this? Because I think I probably lean Lester a little bit. I'm more on the Vegas aspect of wanting to get those win points. Edwin Jackson's a gas can. And if you look, again, it's real early in the day, but the trends are moving more towards Chicago becoming a bigger favorite and Boston becoming a smaller favorite from what I saw when I woke up earlier this morning. So you might be the tiebreaker for us, at least in our initial build here. Lester or Price?
Well, I mean, far be it for me to disagree with the guy who leads the consensus value rankings. I mean, that's a tough deal right there, but I mean, if I was leaning, I mean, they're 1A and they're 1B. So, like he said, there's a big, massive price difference. If you can work a team with John Lester, I think he's the safer option. If that's he's up against Price, Lester versus Price there for what you're going to take. Price isn't exactly a safe option himself these days, but I think Lester's the safer option with that ballpark, with that offense behind him on FanDuel. You should get the win. I'd be shocked if he didn't get the win. So if you can work that salary and still build a comfortable offense around it, I prefer Lester. But there is a big salary difference there, and if you can't do it, I have no problems with Price being 1B. But Lester would be my preference.
I think we're going to start it with Lester, and we know that it's a $1,000 difference. So if as we kind of build along, if we're kind of seeing guys that we definitely want into our team that we can't get with the current makeup, we can always make the adjustment. So, sorry, Dino, you were overruled.
Well, I mean, you're saying sorry now, but once we start building the lineup, you're like, well, we can't get him, we can't get him, we can't get him. Okay, I guess we'll step down the price. So that's going to happen in about 20 minutes.
Okay, well, we'll find out. Well, let's get into it. And, I'm going to I think there's a few places that stand out today. And the one guy that I think looks extremely underpriced for the environment is Jake Lamb today at $3,300. I know we've got Bryant. Machado is in a really nice position now with Strasburg scratched. Bregman's been on fire. Not that I'd pay that salary for him, but Arizona, the highest team total of the day. That's cleanup. Fulte can't really handle lefties that well. I think Lamb is a plug and play today. You with that, Dean?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense to play Lamb 3-3. It's just he's way too cheap. And this is a guy that we were paying over $4K for in a similar matchup. I know he's been cold. He hasn't been himself. He was dealing with injuries before. But Fultonevich just really struggles versus left-handers, and the ballpark is just awesome. And it's a really fair price on FanDuel. It's interesting. We keep talking about like a lot of the cheapies are gone. The mid-tier has kind of got a little friendlier to some extent, which is just kind of strange the way what's going on with the pricing. But yeah, Lamb is kind of a lock and load as far as cash games from my perspective. By the way, worth noting, I haven't really dug in because again it happened on the show, but to my recollection, A.J. Cole, he's not like a punching bag. He was a legit prospect for Washington, so I wouldn't just automatically say Baltimore vaults to the top of your stacks today. Just kind of, I would note that. I want to dig in. I don't know how he's done of late. I'll be honest. It just happened during the show, but I wouldn't just assume that like Baltimore is like the team today. It's still Chicago.
All right, Chopper. We're going to go Lamb, so I'm going to get – is there anybody that you feel like we need to have in our cash lineups? Is there some other players that stand out that look way either underpriced or a guy that it doesn't matter what the price is, you want him today?
Initially, looking at this, I'm not seeing anybody that looks like drastically underpriced. There's some spots you can save some money, but you don't feel like super comfortable about them. So you can do that at the end. So the value plays, I don't really see them there that much. But I would go to shortstop, and right along the lines of the amount of salary we have left per player, I would maybe put an Addison Russell in there at $3,000 against Edwin Jackson, and I think it's a pretty decent little. He's usually batting around fifth these days, so maybe he gets a good spot in the order tonight. It's a good salary. I don't know. There's if I was going to punt this, there's some guys down there punt worthy, but I think if I'm trying to build a little bit of offense here, Russell would be my preferred play.
Dino, what do you think? Thoughts on Russell?
I like Russell. I like him in a vacuum. I think he's perfectly fine, and he's picking on pretty much probably the worst pitcher taking the bump tonight. But like Chop said, there's some cheapies at shortstop, and that's one of the places I think you can save money. And $3K is a very, very fair price. I'm looking at a guy like Garcia who has not been hitting second of late. He's been buried a little bit in the hole. He's kind of sort of worth a look. Okay, here you go. We have 8 games tonight, right? We have 16 pitchers. Amongst the 16 pitchers, how many do you actually want to pick on? Maybe 5, right? Like, we're really limited. We're talking about Jackson, which makes it for a really interesting tournament night because I think you're going to get a lot of congested ownership. What about the Braves? Swanson, he might Swimmy, Samsonite, Swanson. I was way off. Is Swanson going to lead off maybe? Because with Fab Five Freddie Freeman, he's probably going to be out tonight. We saw him at leadoff, I think, on Sunday as well. If he's in that positive ballpark there in Arizona, Swanson's 2.5 and Arcia's 2.3, and you have the Cuban missile, Alexi Ramirez. Look, he's not good.
No. I will veto that one.
He is hit leadoff, and he's not good, and he's not a leadoff hitter because he doesn't walk, which is, you want to walk against John Lester because that's basically an automatic double, potentially a triple, depending on how ambitious you are. He once ran, no longer does, really. I think he has like 5 or 6 or so in the season. Oh, it's Swanson Revenge, too. Oh, it's Swanson. There it is, lock and load.
You like the Dansby Swanson. All right.
He's going to lead off, isn't he?
It looks like Freeman's definitely out here today. Lineups page, again, it's just projected at this point in time. They had him at the 6 hole, but again, that was the last game that Freeman actually played in versus a righty. So, what was it, Sunday you said he led off that day?
I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong on that. I didn't play Sunday, to be honest, but I took a look at box scores, and I thought he grabbed the 1 hole. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
All right, well, sounds like we got a couple of options there at shortstop. Let's go to outfield real quick because I think that there's a guy who I really like tonight that I think is going to hit a home run. He's 3,700. I'm on Team Cargo tonight. I know it's not a free square, but I feel like he's underpriced. I feel like the ballpark still works for him. And Jimmy Nelson, man, he can be had. Cubs just hit him all around the park. A little bit better at home than on the road, but I like Cargo tonight. Is he too expensive, though?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how are you affording these guys? Because did we pick Tyon?
I think Dean would agree here that it's not very fair for the host to come in and take up all the damn salary, man. I mean, we're limited in the first place. I mean, I think Cargo is a great play if you can squeeze him in, but it's going to be a little bit tough. We're going to have to go down to Arcia and a couple guys, maybe punt the catcher to get a couple guys like Cargo in there.
Okay, well
it could be done.
Well, here we go. Let's go to the next spot. Let's go to catcher real quick because, again, we're playing cash. We don't really care about what's chalk and what's not chalk. I get the feeling Gary Sanchez is going to be chalk tonight. Do you agree, Sir Chalk-a-Lot? Shableson?
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was me or Chopper. Yeah, it's got to be Sanchez. Sanchez is going to be like 40% owned tonight in cash games, and for good reason. Because, again, you run down the pitchers. There's 16 pitchers tonight, and there's maybe 4 or 5 that you're happy to pick on. Obviously, the negative ballpark chip is not appealing, but the price is pretty appealing at 2.9. Unless there's a 2K crapper that sort of pops up that's in a good spot, which is probably not going to happen, I think Sanchez just makes a ton of sense in your cash games.
I'm with you. And I think Beef Wellington is the pivot for tournaments for me. I think the ownership's going to be really low on him today because everyone in that range is probably going to go with Sanchez. But, again, we're playing cash game. We don't care what our opponents do. We're just building our lineup and not caring about ownership. So, all right, well, we got 2,900 left. I'm going to look real quick. We're going to go to the projections page here on RotoGrinders. And if you look at our price per point projections here, we can maybe try and find some value. What do we know about, and again, it's probably not the play considering we've got John Lester on our lineup, but it's got Patrick Kivalehan as a 2K crapper against John Lester potentially as an option today. They got him projected as 7th in the lineup today. Derek Norris they had versus Lester. Again, we're not going to play Lester and have these guys likely in our lineup, but there could be some potential value there. And then Arcia and Kettle Marte, you're right, those are the shortstop spots. It seems like you're kind of right in terms of the value, fellas. Chop, is there any other source of value? What do you think of Aaron Hicks today? He looks like he's top 10 price per point for us here tonight against Cody Martin.
That's a last resort if you need to go to it. At this point, I'm looking around here, and I don't think it's impossible to fill out the rest of this roster sticking around that $2,900 to $3,000 per player. I think there's some quality. You're not gonna, it's either stars and scrubs, or just a good balanced lineup if that's what you want to call it. I know we usually do that in basketball, but you can do it in baseball too. I think you can stick out. You could go with Arcia. We could stick with Addison Russell at shortstop and knock that out. You have a second baseman like Scooter Gennett right around that price range. I think he's in as good a shape as just about any second baseman tonight, and he's only 3,100.
Do we want Scooter when we can get Cano at 34? That's my discussion point.
Well, if you can get Cano at 34, again, I really like Pineda. I think he's a much better pitcher than most to give him credit for. But what about at 35? How much is Zobrist? He's 3,400. Don't we prefer Zobrist versus Jackson?
We could. Depends on if your team BVP. Cano's got 2 home runs against.
Oh no! What's the sample size?
It's like 9. So.
And he's got revenge.
And he's got revenge. But no, I think you're right. I think Zobrist, Cano. Scooter, I'm fine with if it's 2,500 Scooter, but it's 3,100 Scooter. It just feels too much.
Yeah, I'm fine with him. But I agree. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. But that's kind of what I'm saying about a lot of players.
Okay, we're really going nowhere on this lineup right now. So we've got 3 spots. Let's try first base. Okay, this is a spot where Adam Lind tonight. Any interest? 2,800, or is it again you don't want to pick on Pineda?
I want Rizzo. That's why I think Rizzo.
4,200.
Well, I know that's why I'm not playing Lester.
Fair enough. I love Rizzo too. But dang, yeah, there's no way we're going to get him in there with Lester. But it's the decisions we have to make.
So, who do you play at first base? Who do you pair with Lester?
Okay,
if we were going along this team, I'm with Dan. I think in that price range, Lind is. I know you don't want to pick on Pineda, but if I'm going with Lester and I need to make this team work, Lind would be the guy down there in that price range. Otherwise, if we're up, yeah, then Rizzo is the guy.
Okay, you know what? I hate to do this. I really freaking hate to do this. Stop laughing, Dean. It kills me to do this. But I think you're right, Dean. I think you're right. because I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, even if we built this lineup around $2,900 guys, I can get Pineda, or I can go to like Carlos Santana, or the upgrade on 1,000 is probably enough to stomach having to put up with David Price here today. I think you're right.
You say that like he's a bad play. It's you stomach David Price versus Tampa, who strikes out a ridiculous amount, and he's a strikeout pitcher.
But I love the locking in 12 win points with John Lester tonight. I love the thought of doing that. Love it.
Did you read Derek Carty's article about the win on FanDuel and how it's overrated?
I did not. I will have to read that one because what was his arguments on that?
Well, his argument was, from starters, is basically you just can't lock it in, and you shouldn't base your entire decision upon, well, we're starting with 12 and everybody else is starting with 0. Because this doesn't work that way, obviously.
That's true. So, Chop, we're going to do it, okay? We're going to go to Price. Gives us 3,100. Doesn't sound like much, but again, it can give you at least one big bat to roll with.
Here's something I don't want to do, by the way. I'm going to bring it up. And you try to talk me out of Alexi Ramirez, and I don't necessarily want Alexi Ramirez, but he was leading off. I don't hate him. I probably prefer Swanson. But I need one of you guys to talk me out of not playing Jason Hayward, assuming he's back in the lineup today.
My daughter wants a pear, by the way. Again, this is what I'm talking about.
That's like the woke fruit, by the way. Pear? Seriously?
Pears are great. The problem is you literally have like 3 days where you can eat them. Like maybe in that. Maybe more like a 24 to 48 hour period before they go from perfectly ripe to overripe. That's the struggle with pears.
They go from awful to putrid.
Jeez. You're going to make my daughter cry. Good thing I'm wearing headphones. She loves
Look, give her a nectarine. She's good to go.
They're on the counter. I'm sorry. Let's get back to it here. How about outfield today?
Just completely ignored me and Jason Hayward.
No, I'm not playing Jason Hayward. Chop, you want Jason Hayward tonight? I don't.
If we stayed with Lester, I would take Hayward. That's not like an ultimatum. I'm not giving you guys like I'm just saying, if it was in that same price range, I would. He's all right. I mean, I've played him several times lately because of the salary and the matchups. I probably hasn't done anything for me at all this entire season, but I understand the desire to put him on your roster. He's a sexy-looking player, man. He just doesn't produce anymore. But
just so everybody knows, my daughter came and said, I said, go get a pear. She comes back and brings me this. So
is that a little eggplant?
I looks like a little plum or something. So I think I got to work on my my fruit, identification with my daughter because she brought me a plum. So all right, back to it, guys. Give me a name to plug in here, okay? We're struggling with this one today, and I didn't think it was going to be this difficult, but who's the chalk? Dean, who's the chalk? How about Yasmani Tomas, 3,300?
Yeah, I'm good with him. I mean, traditionally he's kind of a boom buster, and you prefer those guys in tournaments, but I'm more open now to playing boom bust guys in cash just because cash games are so chalky, and it's the difference of one decision that decides cashing and winning. Cashing and not cashing a lot of times. The thing is, Fultonevich is actually not awful versus right-handers. Of course, Tomas can just smash off anybody. He's fine though. What about Keon Braxton? Is he going to unbreak your heart today?
What is it with you, Keon Braxton?
Is that a Major League Baseball player? I don't even know who Dean's talking about anymore.
I did not just make him up. You've never heard of Keon? He's been batting at the top of the order for Milwaukee.
I don't know. You know what? If I want to save a little money on outfielder, like this Mitch Haniger guy, he's not bad. If I was going to take that kind of a player against Folty Winix or whatever, however you pronounce his name, if I'm going to take a kind of outfielder like that, I would rather have him. Assuming he's going to be leading or batting in the top 2 or 3 spots here again today, he's not bad at that price tag.
Were you guys serious about Braxton not knowing who he was? I know I said Braxton because I was doing a Tony Braxton reference that I don't know if anybody caught, but it was out there, and Braxton could steal. He's got a little bit of pop as well. He's been hitting the top of the order. He's facing Betts, who has some reverse splits.
Okay, let's go. Let's try these two guys instead. Now they're not at the top of the order, but they're going against maybe not a guy we want to pick on today, but this guy from Oakland, Triggs. I don't think is a particularly very good pitcher. Where do we fall on Chisenhall or Naquin today? 2K or 2,900 for Chisenhall, 3K for Naquin. Both guys good numbers versus righties. If you look at the DraftKings versus FanDuel salary differential on the two, it's pretty big. Like, that's usually a good indicator when FanDuel screws up is when a guy like Chisenhall is like the 30th ranked or 30th ranked outfielder on FanDuel, and he's like top 10 on DraftKings. So, what do we think of Chisenhall or Naquin?
It's a no for me.
Chop.
I mean, assuming they're landing in the same batting spots that they usually do, probably not on my cash game team. But if I was going to choose between the two, it'd be Naquin, but probably neither one of them if they don't get a bump up in that order.
And at some point in the game, Davis is going to come in the game, right? Once a lefty comes in, he's going to take one of their spots.
All right, we're getting nowhere here, boys.
I'm seeing the name Michael Bourne in chat.
Oh, my God. What?
He's probably going to bat second. He's 2-8, and he's facing Fulton-Evans, who's at. Look, I don't want to play him either. This is why I said Jason Hayward again. I mentioned Jason Hayward before. Nobody wants to play him, but you're eventually going to click that name.
Let's do this. We got to make some progress here. So let's start off. I think the best price per dollar shortstop is going to be Arcia. Saves us money, gives us a chance to maybe get some decent players. Let's just plug Arcia in there. Because if it's not Arcia, it's going to be like an Addison Russell. I don't know just how much of an upgrade that really is. So I would go Arcia at shortstop and see where we can get after that.
There we go. We have plugged him in. We're making progress. Does this mean I get my cargo at 3,700 now?
I think you can do that.
We want Rizzo, though, don't we?
I think you can get them both at this point.
You think we can get them both?
Yeah. Watch.
Okay. Chopper
happen.
seems confident in this one. So if we plug Rizzo and we plug cargo in today, Dean is all about Rizzo. By the way, that seems like your number one guy. That gives us 2,800 for 3 spots. That's not horrible. Could be doable.
Okay. So where are we at as far as outfielders? Again, Bourne is 2.8. Hayward's 2.9. Do we have a guy that's 2K that we can play today? I don't know if we have one just yet. You talked about the dude on San Diego. How much is he? Is he 2K?
Well, yeah, he's definitely more in play. Patrick Kildahan? I have no idea who this guy is.
That's a Cardi special.
That's a Cardi special?
Yeah.
2K crapper. Min salary for us.
Stay tuned for Cardi's next article, how home runs are overrated in fantasy.
How fantasy points are overrated in fantasy.
Oh, man. All right.
I mean, at this price range, I like Hayward at 29, and I would also, like I said, I don't know if you guys been eyeballing Mitch Haniger at all, but he seems pretty decent, man.
Okay, I'm not against Haniger, but I want you to make the argument, why is it Hayward over Chisenhall tonight?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Chisenhall's not going to get his 4th at bat, most likely, once a left-hander comes in. He's buried in the lineup. He's going to be batting 7th or so at home. Hayward's probably going to be batting 7th or so on the road, but, of course, he's guaranteed 9 innings.
But Hayward sucks. There's a big difference here. Hayward's terrible. He's done nothing all year long.
Off. You've heard of mental days off. He had a mental weekend off. Now
like 6 months off. He's been awful all year.
He basically came out and said, like, look, don't worry, I'll play when it matters in October and September, basically. That's kind of
okay. Listen, I got one for you guys. Yeah, haven't played this guy in like 2 years, but why not? Because we're getting nowhere here. How about we're on a cash game, so we're not necessarily looking for that huge upside. 2,800. I think you could plug Markakis in there in a good matchup in a good ballpark. Oh. Got decent numbers. I mean, listen. There's nothing sexy about any of these guys, man. But, I mean, he's a fairly safe option. He's going to be at the top of the order. He's facing Godley in Arizona.
Do we like him better than Mitch Haniger?
What a great question.
I mean, oof.
I don't know.
The numbers aren't bad for Markakis. They're not bad at all. He's just not going to get you a home run.
I shouldn't be struggling. I should just click it and move on, but I take too much pride in our lineup here, guys, for me to be, accepting Nick Markakis as an option. Or
Listen,
accepting Jason Hayward as an option.
If you click on his name and you go to his game log right there on that FanDuel page, I think you'll be surprised.
You know who's too cheap, by the way?
Who?
Gregory Polanco at 3-2.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one. Yeah, sure. I had him highlighted.
There we go. That's a guy I can take. You know what? He's not old. He's not terrible. He's 3.2. He's not overpriced. Okay, so we got that. I like it. So now
Pretty
we got
fair price.
2,700 left, second base and outfield.
Oh boy. Chop.
Is there any second base crappers to even consider today? I mean, it's hard. There might be somebody in a surprise lineup order that jumps up, but I'm not seeing anything.
Like, what if Gosselin bats second? He probably won't, but you never know what you're going to get from Arizona.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with him if he bats second.
But it's probably going to be Bourne, and we have a problem with the 2-8s. What's wrong with Bourne? I know he's terrible, and he's another guy we don't want to play. We're not happy about that click. But again, lefty versus Fultonevich. And I don't know what the probability of stealing a base, but I'd imagine, Brzezinski's still in the DL, right? He's back in the DL. It doesn't matter. All those catchers for Atlanta are pretty weak as far as throwing guys out, correct? I feel like they are.
You need Anthony Rizzo on your team?
Oh, give me the alternative. I'm willing to listen. Who are we stepping down to?
Crush Davis, 3,600. I mean, he's not usually cash game option. Or Santana at 3,800. Been, raking versus righties, leading off. I mean, both those guys are saving us 400, and Davis saves us 600.
I mean, you got Will Myers at a bit of a discount. Of course, you don't really want to pick on Lester, but 3-3 versus a lefty is pretty interesting. It's probably more of a tournament play. But, I mean, I don't know, is that a big enough step down? I just feel like it's a big downgrade. Of course, four bat sample size, who really knows? No for Hanley. Freeman's probably not going to play. Goldie's the same price. Good tournament option because I think Rizzo will be more popular. Santana, he should lead off. 9 innings locked in, so probably 5 ABs. Rough bullpen there for Oakland, and we're not really sure how good that starter may or may not be. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, okay, like, do you really have to play Carlos Gonzalez? I like him, but you could step down. Chop, step in here, help us out.
Okay, I mean, Rizzo. Like, I deciding between Rizzo and Cargo, I would definitely take Rizzo if I had, but I still think you can. So, like, the cheapest second baseman out there that I see that is projected to be in the starting lineup is Castro at 26 against Martin. It's not terrible, but it's not great, obviously. That might open something up for an outfielder if you wanted to do Castro. Jeanette's too expensive. I mean, the first baseman, I really like Rizzo. If I'm not playing Rizzo, I'm going to go all the way down and punt this whole position and go with like a John Jaso. If he's still in the league, I'm not sure if he's still in the league or not, but I mean, he's got a good matchup. And
John Jaso. I see people talk about Jaso all the time, and that is like begging. It's like no upside at first base, which is just a terrible way to build your lineups.
All right, I agree. I'm on no on Jaso. Castro I can get with. That leaves us at that 2,800. No man's land in outfield for FanDuel tonight. That we can't even get Dean's beloved Jason Hayward. We're 100 short on that.
Wait, Michael Bourne. I don't want to play Michael, but you might. You can.
I mean,
nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to click that, but it's certainly in play. They're talking about Dahl in the chat. I like him as well, but he's 3.5 as far as you're not getting a big step down in price. 3.7 from Cargo, Dahl at 3.5. Both are really strong plays. And the other thing they're throwing out there, which I think is worth a conversation, again, this is one of those rules I wouldn't normally do, but I've since kind of tinkered and changed in cash games. Chris Carter at 3.4. What do we think there?
I don't hate it versus Bettis.
I don't either.
Chop?
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean...
Okay.
He's the epitome of a GPP play and a non-cash game play. I don't know. So if I'm gonna have a roster, I at least want to have 2 studs on there, and I feel one of those studs needs to be at first base, really. And I really like Rizzo, so I don't. Well, I mean, I see you plugged in Santana.
No, I mean,
He's not bad either, but
I'm just trying to see what we would have left. At 3,200 on Santana, 3,400 on Davis. 4,200 for Rizzo leaves us 28. I mean, Dean, I've already given in on starting pitcher to David Price to you. It would be terrible to give in on Carlos Gonzalez to you again, but where do you want to go?
No, I like Carlos Gonzalez a ton, and I think he's definitely justifiable for your roster. It's just, again, how do we make this work? And there's really no logical pivots. It's one of those things where it's probably an easier answer once lineups come out. I mean, if Arcia is batting like 7th or 8th, like he has been, and not batting 2nd, I'm not terribly enthused as him. At a punt there, I want to spend $2 more and get Swanson, who I suspect is going to hit high up in the order. I think that's a big difference. So again, even that wouldn't make this lineup work. We might have a 2K crapper that pops up out of nowhere to make things a little bit easier. I don't really think you should budge off of Sanchez. I think he makes a ton of sense in cash.
What do we think of McCutchen at 3,400? I mean, he hasn't been terrible over the last 6-7 games.
Chop.
Or what are we ditching?
Hold on. When
we ditching Cargo?
When Dean just gives us a chop, that is a nice way of you saying, I don't approve.
I mean, he's fine, and the price is fair.
34.
It's just that Cargo's not 4-4.
So
it's such a small step down.
This is a replacement for Cargo? I mean, if I'm replacing Cargo, I would rather go 3-3 and go with Trumbo against the new pitcher.
You know what's funny, Dan? We talked for a second before the show. We're like, yeah, this just builds itself. This will take no time at all.
That's what I thought, but this isn't really going as smooth.
I mean, I got the Jimmy John's guy waiting there. He's banging on the door, man.
Okay, well, let's...
No, I mean, no rush. I mean, I'm going to tip him, so...
Okay. Do they deliver just one sub, like $9 or $8? Like, is that worth the trip? That happens?
As long as you get them to cut it in half, it's all good.
Okay, you know what we're going to do? I hate to do it, but we're already running past our time here. We're gonna go Michael Bourne. We're gonna plug him in,
Ooh.
but we will say that this lineup we reserve the right to make edits when lineups come out here today. I think that we can do that. So, boys, you know what? It was a controversial lineup build, but you know what the good news is? We get to come back next Monday and do it again.
We are like the opposite of the Best Friends show. They always agree. We can't figure anything out.
Rough, man. It's rough.
All right. Well, everyone, appreciate you guys tuning in with us. We've got 3.5 hours of Grinders Live coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. And, again, thanks for joining us here today on the Roundtable. Tons of great stuff coming up on Roto Grinders just the rest of the day, the rest of the week, moving forward. Chop, Dean, been a pleasure. Been too long since we've done this. And, again, good luck to everybody tonight in your games. We'll see you.